Well, Melissa, I'm so glad to get to host this conversation today as we talk through kind of what does creating culture in your startup and the company that you're founding, and that doesn't have to wait till you actually have lots of people. So a little spoiler there, but yeah, I'm excited to share your expertise with the community. So will you go ahead and just introduce yourself and kind of what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, right on. Well, I'm Melissa, and I founded my company, Thrive Ops Labs, which is a company of one. And my mission is really to help people, teams, and companies thrive. So my background and experience has spanned mostly in biotech and tech over the last 12, 13 years. So I started my career in HR, talent, and culture in a small company called Genealogics here in Canada. And we started as a company of 25 when I was there and grew to about 60 people. And then we were acquired by a Fortune 500 company down in the States called Illumina. And that was kind of the ultimate opportunity in terms of our acquisition portfolio. Like that was the number one pick, which was really exciting. And so I worked at Illumina for 2 years. And in that time, they grew from being a company of about 4,200 to a company of 8,000. So I saw a lot of growth there as well. From there, I went to another small startup and we grew that team from 25 to 50. And then we merged with another Canadian company of about 40 people. So that's kind of my M&A experience. I was the project lead for both of those and obviously managed all the culture changes that we stumbled through along the way. And then in the last few years, I've predominantly just been working with founders, really on the one-to-one basis and with their small teams. So mostly people under 5 employees or maybe 6 or 7. I really like this size, I think, because there is so much impact to be had when you're just working with a founder. It can have a massive impact on the product, the team, and all the things. So that's kind of where my focus has been in the last while.
Awesome. Well, I love that. Yeah, I love the different types of experience that you're bringing in to this conversation, but also that it's you've been in those shoes, you've been walking with people in those shoes as founders, and so I'm excited to dive in. So let's jump into the framework and kind of look at what is culture, what does creating culture look like in each of these stages. Let's jump to the next one. So our next stage is the discovery stage, and discovery. It goes, okay, so we left existential with that solution statement, and discovery, we're moving from a solution statement to really a validated offer. So something we know is ready to sell. And this is, again, still, we may make some sales. Well, we actually do need to make some sales. That's how it's validated during this stage, but we're not totally trying to go and capture a big chunk of the market yet. We're really going, okay, have I taken that solution and have I packaged it in the right form that delivers value? I can guarantee that value. The person that I want to pay for this can perceive it and it immediately makes sense. And I've validated it by the person I want to pay for it has paid for it the amount that I want them to pay for it enough times that it's cool. All right, let's take this to market. So in that discovery stage, there's still some dreaming, still some imagining, but there's a lot more doing in there. And you're probably starting to bring some other people in there. Sometimes you're still in solo mode, or you have a team of people who are kind of helping fractionally or at maybe a freelance kind of way, or maybe you're offshoring. But likely there's starting to be a couple other people in that time frame. Yeah, what should a founder be thinking about from a culture perspective in this stage?
Yeah, that's great. I think that the discovery stage is really exciting usually because you're bringing someone else into the fold, right? I think that when you're bringing on new employees, you can also think of them kind of as your customers as well, right? So in the sense that you're trying to validate your product, you're kind of doing the same thing with validating your employees. So you're trying to understand. Usually at this point, you're probably hiring for a culture fit more than a culture add. Like you want someone who you really gel with, who totally gets behind the mission, right? So
They're
I
going to
think
be half the company for that.
exactly.
The first hire, they're half of the other.
Exactly. And so there's a lot of thought that needs to go into that, as well as even the process for recruiting and bringing someone on, I also think as a founder, this is a good time to like start capturing your decisions. Like again, going back to that reflective personal operating system, I think even if you just have like a text file going of when you've made key decisions in your company that you can go back to later and say, well, why did I make this decision? I think it's really important in the discovery stage to start capturing that for yourself, because those could also end up being artifacts for other employees when they come on board down the road, right? So they know how and why we got to where we are.
That's really good. So what would be maybe some pitfalls in this stage that a founder might run into as they're starting to add people, and starting to formalize what they offer and what they deliver?
I think the really uncomfortable part about this time is that you have to bring someone else on and you will probably have to start having hard conversations somewhere in there, right?
Mhm.
So you have to be ready to level up into those, and you really have to figure out a way to start taking feedback from this other person too. So you're
Mm,
not a company of one anymore. You need to be ready to have your ideas challenged, and you're not always the person who's right. And there's new ways of doing things. So it's the beginning of somewhat releasing the reins, right? And you just have to be ready to do that, I think.
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, that feed and even that, like you kind of named, that feedback process is a two-way street. You got to learn to give good feedback if someone's not aligned to the culture or to the vision, but you also got to receive that feedback if, because it's, even as the founder, you don't always know best, which, that can be hard to hear at times. And so no, that's really good. Is there any good resources for someone in that stage that you would identify?
Yeah, I think one of the good resources would be really, like I said, creating like a text file of your decisions and starting to create your documentation for your company. And maybe this is something that you do alongside the second person. So it's really about creating your own resources here right now as well.
I like that. I like that a lot. Founding is not an easy journey, and as we've talked through all of these stages, we see that there's a lot of highs, there's good things, there's lows, there's monotonous things, but the culture does really frame how that works all together. And even as we were wrapping up with events, I thought it was interesting that, as you're talking about, like, yeah, how a lot of it rests on you as a founder, kind of navigating the unscripted. But a lot of that is formed way back in the first thing we talked about, in that existential stage, when you talked about it being a personal operating system and you kind of have a culture of one. Hey, if you take the time and you are intentional in forming that early, then you have it when you face the unexpected. And if you don't cultivate that and you don't strengthen it, then you don't have that foundation when you hit those unexpected changes. So I like how that actually kind of came full circle
Mm.
there. But as we kind of wrap up though, Melissa, what would you want to say to a founder, just kind of as we think about the whole journey, as they're creating culture, as they're leading? Yeah, any exhortations, any encouragements or guidance you want to leave with our founding community here?
Oh, well, I think I said it in the beginning too. It's like this is such a personal growth opportunity, right? And I think stepping into the fact that you're a leader early is
Mm,
is a really good move. And this process of developing yourself is so important because people want you to see you level up, and you're going to want it for yourself. Yeah, so doing the things that you need to do in order for that to happen, take the time out when you need the time out. If you're somebody who doesn't need the time out, great. But if you are, show your team who you are and that you take little breaks.
mm,
Um, yeah, it's another thing. It's like understanding how much your team and your company wants to know about your personal life. Just because you're a founder doesn't mean they have to know all the nitty-gritty details, right? That's
right.
not everyone's style. And so, giving yourself the grace and permission that, these are the boundaries that I'm going to have and create. And if you don't have those and that's the way you operate too, go for it. Just really being conscious, I think, of yourself can pay off so much at all stages. And so, yeah, if that's working with a coach early on or bringing on a co-founder to, help your gaps, is that getting an HR or chief of staff or someone that you can lean on to? Definitely having people in your corner you can trust is so helpful. It can be lonely at the top, so try and as you're growing your crew in your company, you definitely want to create a little team that you can trust, and vice versa.
Well, I appreciate you, encouraging us and exhorting us, guiding us as we walk through all those stages. Just continue to hear the themes of knowing yourself, of that self-awareness, of intentionality and communication. And it just seemed like, okay, if you're, as a founder, if you're listening to this and whichever stage you're in, those are probably some of the levers you're going to pull. But I encourage, if you're just listening to one of the stages, go back and listen to the others, because they do all weave together really naturally. So Melissa, thanks for sharing with the community. I love this interview. It's been a lot of fun. I think it will be a huge blessing to all of our founders. So thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.